So now the question is, how well do you think I can shoot at 100 yards with a muzzle-loading handgun? Thompson Center has been known for muzzle loading since back in the 1970s, but what a lot of people don't realize is Thompson Center was also known for muzzle loading pistols. So this is a Patriot pistol. This is in .36 caliber. We actually reacquired this pistol back from Smith & Wesson. So when Smith & Wesson purchased Thompson Center and they closed down the Rochester facility, they put all of these old guns in their archive. So this is actually a Smith & Wesson tag on here when they archived these guns. So we went into their vault, we went through, we were able to find this Patriot pistol. It has been fired, it's still in relatively good condition. And a lot of people had fun with this gun. This was more, not necessarily something to hunt with, it was more of a novelty with double set triggers in it right there. So you can cock the hammer back, or you can set the trigger, and then obviously you could fire the gun. But just absolute beautiful workmanship, the woodworking, the inletting for the lock and all this, but just something more proud ownership, something to take to the range and have fun with. When Thompson Center got into the inline muzzleloading game, the first inline that they produced was the Scout muzzleloader, which is actually my first muzzleloader that I owned. And then just because Thompson Center was privately owned and you had a really good crew of engineers and gun designers, they said, well, hey, let's modify the Scout muzzleloader, which is a carbine setup, and let's go make a Scout pistol. And this just harkens back to, you know, times of old, more of this Western style shoehorn look onto the grip, you know, short barrel. So this was in .50 caliber, and I think I saw one out of the collection as well, as this came back from Smith & Wesson, that it actually was a shotgun variation, which I didn't know they produced that, probably one of one. But this is, you know, still uses a number 11 percussion cap, but you can see this is an inline action. So here where the percussion cap was off to the side, this was inline to the breech system, meant for loose powder, not meant for pellets, because obviously it has number 11 percussion cap. But still, a really cool gun to own, fun to shoot. Not many of these in circulation, so you're looking at two historical pieces of gun design in those two. But Thompson Center didn't stop there. So even though we were in the handgun muzzle loading realm, and again, people did hunt with this, okay, but it was more of a novelty to shoot. When the Encore came out in 1997, it was designed initially as a handgun, an interchangeable barrel handgun. And it didn't matter whether it was in, you know, 708, 308, 223, a lot of the common calibers. Well, the gun designer said, hey, once we made a muzzle loader out of it, well, let's make a muzzle loading handgun. So this is your 15-inch barrel. This is in .50 caliber. This is kind of cool because the ramrod is actually in line with the barrel. And of course, you still have a removable breech plug as well in this gun design. You still have the easy tip extractor right there. You tip the extractor off. This was a later accessory to the design. You used to have to take the barrel off, and then there was a little screw, and you'd have to pull the extractor out. And then you just took a 17-inch socket wrench. You can bash back the breech plug out. So this handgun was never updated to speed breech. It was kind of retired before that time. So this is, again, a vintage model, actually, that Carl Ricker owns. He still hunts with it today. So he's our director of engineering, kind enough to let me borrow it. But how cool is this? Now, this is a hunting handgun. Whereas when you go back to the two previous designs, it's more of a novelty, pride of ownership, something to take to the range. But when you get into the Encore, now you actually have a platform that you can hunt with. I put a red dot Loophole Delta Point Pro on this. So anything that you could hunt with in, let's say, a 308, right? Well, why couldn't you use a muzzle-loading handgun here? I typically like to run 80 grains of powder, but the barrel certainly could take 150 grains. I don't know that I would want to run that much powder in a short barrel because you're not going to burn it all. So somewhere around 80 grains in this handgun is optimal and gives you a gun that you can hunt with, a handgun, muzzle-loading handgun, out to 100 yards. So let's go load it up and let's go shoot some fun targets. So essentially, you just have an Encore muzzleloader here. It's just in a handgun variation. 15-inch barrel, still runs off a 209 ignition. And for this setup here, I'm going to run 80 grains of Patriot Select. It'll work with pellets. You can run 80 grains of pellets, 100 grains of pellets. If you're man enough to hold on to it, you can run 150 grains of pellets. It is the same ignition system as our Encores. All right, so right at the top of the paper. So let me click this down. We got our Fallon shot in. Let's load it up and shoot our group. This was the ramrod that came in the gun right here. So all we did was we screwed on our T-handle extension right there and our loading jag right there. So we made a mini range rod with this. Because we're shooting Patriot, we do want to swab between every shot. So just like your traditional muzzleloader, it's just a little more cumbersome with a handgun. But you can see how dirty it gets. I'm going to take our dry patch here. Consistency, consistency, consistency. It's muzzle loading in and out like that. All right, so now we're going to take our powder measure, take our 80 grains, just pour it right into it. Let it overflow just a little bit. Tap to settle the powder. Skim it off the top. So what I do here, because you can, put them together. Just let the powder trickle down. I'm shooting a 290 Hornady bore driver. I like this bullet just in general. I think it's the best in the marketplace, but also it loads really well because it's slightly undersized to the bore. So look at that. Oh, funny. Compress it just a little bit on top of the powder, and we're ready to go. Primer in there. All right. It's better be lucky than good. Let's see if I can't back that up with a second and third shot. But cut the 10 ring. Ooh, looking pretty good so far. One more round. Let's see if I can't keep it in the groove. Well, that is an impressive group. I'm going to have to walk down and take a look at it, but I'd say that is probably around 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, but 100 yards with a red dot sight and a handgun, I'll take it all day long. Now let's go have some fun. All right, Encore muzzle-loading pistol versus watermelon. Still a 50-yard shot, not a layup. Let's see how well it performs. That's not a very big kill area, but representative of the deer's vitals. Let's see. We just made a Slurpee out of it. So the speed on this, now remember 80 grains, Hodgdon Patriot Select with the 290 bore driver, 1295, 1300 feet per second. Plenty of velocity, plenty of energy to kill a medium-bodied animal, probably out to 100 yards, maybe 125 yards. That's impressive how fast that is running out of this 15-inch barrel. All right, last up, a little bit smaller target here. So we have a water bottle, back out the 100-yard range. Let's see how the 290 bore driver fares against that. One shot, one kill. That's the Encore. It doesn't matter whether it's a rifle, muzzleloader, shotgun, or muzzle-loading handgun. It's still the most versatile firearm in the marketplace today, and probably one of the most fun to shoot in this configuration as a muzzle-loading handgun.